Zodiac signs, 12 symbols carved out of an ancient calendar, still shaping how millions of people understand themselves today. Each sign carries its own season, its own myth, and its own personality that people swear fits them perfectly. Here's what each one actually represents. Aries. Aries opens the zodiac at the spring equinox, the exact moment day and night, briefly balance before light takes over completely. Ancient cultures saw this as a symbol of ignition, the instant something new forces its way into the world. This is why Aries carries a reputation for being bold, impulsive, and impatient. You don't wait for permission, you act first and figure out the consequences later. Hesitation feels like a personal insult. When you want something, you want it now, and slow, cautious people frustrate you to your core. Arguments don't scare you. Competition energizes you. But that same fire burns fast. You can lose interest in something the moment the challenge disappears, leaving projects and people behind before anyone else has caught up. Aries isn't cruelty. It's urgency, a season that demands beginnings and refuses to sit still. Taurus. Taurus follows, tied to the fertile stretch of early summer when the ground finally settles after the chaos of spring. Its symbol is the bull, an animal built for endurance rather than speed. This is why Taurus carries a reputation for being steady, sensual, and almost impossible to rush. You crave comfort, routine, and things you can actually touch. Change unsettles you, not because you're weak, but because stability took real effort to build and you're not interested in tearing it down for no reason. You move slowly, think carefully, and once you commit to something, you commit completely. But that same patience curdles into stubbornness when you're pushed. Try to force you and you dig in harder. Taurus isn't laziness, it's groundedness, a refusal to be rattled by every passing storm. Gemini. Gemini arrives next, and this is where duality enters the zodiac. Represented by twins, it reflects a season of shifting weather and unpredictable moods, one day warm, the next cold. This is why Gemini carries a reputation for being curious, quick-witted, and endlessly restless. Your mind moves faster than most conversations can keep up with. You jump from topic to topic, interest to interest, unable to sit still inside one idea for too long. People call you inconsistent, but really you're just responsive, absorbing everything around you and reflecting it back in a different shape. Commitment feels like a trap when there's still so much left to explore. Gemini isn't dishonesty, it's duality. Two versions of you negotiating which one gets to speak first. Cancer. Cancer follows, tied to the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, right before the light begins its slow retreat. Ancient observers linked this turning point to home, protection, and emotional depth. This is why Cancer carries a reputation for being nurturing but guarded. You feel everything intensely, even things other people brush off completely. Underneath a soft exterior sits a hard shell, built because you've been hurt by people who didn't handle your feelings carefully. You remember everything, every kindness, every slight, filed away and replayed for years. Home matters more to you than almost anything else, whether that's a physical place or a person who feels like safety. Cancer isn't moodiness, it's sensitivity, a nervous system tuned to notice what everyone else misses. Leo. Leo sits at the peak of summer heat, a season ancient Egyptian astronomy linked to the flooding of the Nile, a period tied to abundance and power. Its symbol, the lion, reflects dominance and a need to be seen. This is why Leo carries a reputation for being confident, generous, and impossible to ignore. You walk into a room expecting attention, not out of vanity, but because you genuinely believe you have something worth offering. Loyalty runs deep once you commit to someone, and you'll defend the people you love fiercely. But that same need for recognition turns fragile when you're overlooked. Being ignored feels like being erased. Leo isn't arrogance, it's radiance, a season built for warmth that just happens to need an audience. Virgo. Virgo comes as the summer heat begins to fade, a season tied to harvest and precision, when scattered growth finally gets sorted, measured, and put to use. This is why Virgo carries a reputation for being detail-oriented, analytical, and quietly critical of others and of yourself most of all. You notice what's wrong before you notice what's right. Imperfection nags at you until you fix it, even when nobody else would have noticed the flaw in the first place. Helping people feels like your purpose, but you struggle to accept help in return. Rest feels earned only after everything is finished, and nothing is ever quite finished. Virgo isn't judgment, it's precision, a mind that can't stop refining the world around it. Libra. Libra arrives at the autumn equinox, another moment of perfect balance between day and night. It's the only sign represented by an object instead of a creature, a set of scales. This is why Libra carries a reputation for being fair, diplomatic, and deeply uncomfortable with conflict. You see every side of an argument, sometimes too clearly, which makes decisions agonizing. Choosing one option means rejecting another, and rejection, even of an idea, feels heavier to you than it should. Harmony matters more than almost anything, so you'll bend, compromise, and smooth things over long after other people would have walked away. But underneath the calm exterior sits real frustration at always being the one who has to keep the peace. Libra isn't indecision. It's balance, a constant search for an equilibrium the world rarely offers. Scorpio. Scorpio follows, tied to the intensifying darkness of late autumn when the light thins and the year turns toward its coldest stretch. Ancient mythology linked this season to danger, transformation, and hidden depth. This is why Scorpio carries a reputation for being intense, secretive, and almost impossible to read. You feel things at a depth most people never reach, but you rarely show it. Trust has to be earned completely before you let anyone close, because betrayal cuts you deeper than it cuts most people. You notice motives, subtext, the thing people aren't saying. That perception makes you powerful, but it also makes you suspicious, circling the same doubt long after it should have been resolved. Scorpio isn't manipulation, it's depth, a mind that refuses to accept anything at surface value. Sagittarius. Sagittarius comes next, associated with the archer, always aiming somewhere beyond the horizon. Ancient cultures linked this season to travel and to expanding one's understanding of the world before winter closes everything in. This is why Sagittarius carries a reputation for being adventurous, blunt, and allergic to routine. Staying in one place, one job, one belief system for too long makes you restless in a way you can't quite explain. You say what you think without softening it first, which people either love you for or resent you for, depending on the day. Freedom matters to you more than security. Commitment feels less like safety and more like a cage. Sagittarius isn't recklessness, it's expansion, a season built for movement that never quite settles. Capricorn. Capricorn arrives at the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, when ancient societies had to rely purely on discipline and endurance to survive the harshest stretch of the calendar. This is why Capricorn carries a reputation for being ambitious, disciplined, and unshakably practical. You plan for years while other people plan for weekends. Emotions feel like a distraction from the work that actually needs to get done, so you push them down and keep moving. Achievement matters to you in a way that can look cold from the outside, but underneath it is a real fear of being seen as inadequate. Rest feels like falling behind, even when you desperately need it. Capricorn isn't coldness, it's endurance, a season that had no choice but to become patient. Aquarius. Aquarius follows, tied to deep winter and represented by a figure pouring water, even though it's classified as an air sign. Ancient astronomers linked this stretch of the year to innovation and detachment, since normal routines collapse under the weight of the cold. This is why Aquarius carries a reputation for being independent, idealistic, and emotionally distant. You think in systems and possibilities, imagining how the world could work rather than accepting how it currently does. Conformity feels suffocating, so you deliberately stand apart, sometimes at the cost of genuine connection. People experience you as detached, but really you're just observing from a slight distance, always a step outside whatever group you're technically part of. Aquarius isn't coldness, it's perspective, a mind built to see the whole pattern instead of just one piece of it. Pisces. Finally, Pisces closes the cycle, represented by two fish swimming in opposite directions, reflecting the blurred transition back towards spring. Ancient mythology tied this season to imagination, empathy, and a dissolving sense of boundaries, since it marks the edge between one year ending and another beginning. This is why Pisces carries a reputation for being dreamy, compassionate, and easily overwhelmed. You absorb other people's emotions as if they were your own, sometimes losing track of where their feelings end and yours begin. Reality feels optional when imagination offers somewhere softer to live. You give endlessly to people you love, often past the point where it costs you something real. Pisces isn't weakness. It's permeability, a season with no hard edges left to hold anything out. None of these traits started as mysticism. They started as farmers, sailors, and early astronomers trying to explain the turning of the year using the only tool available to them, the sky. Modern astronomy has since complicated the picture. Because of a slow wobble in Earth's axis called precession, the constellations no longer line up with the dates astrology originally assigned them, meaning the sun's actual position during your birth month often sits in a different constellation than your official sign. That was never the point. Ancient systems, like the one recorded by the astronomer Ptolemy, were built as symbolic, seasonal frameworks, not precise stellar coordinates. So when you read your sign and feel understood, you're not reading a prediction. You're reading the residue of an old calendar, dressed in modern language, still describing the same seasons that shaped the people who came before you.